Welcome to the ACT Basics Prep course. This is the Math section, Part 2, and we'll be discussing algebra. There are two types of algebra problems on the ACT. The first is solving for x, where x has a particular value, and the second is solving for cosmic x, where x has no particular value. When x has a particular value, you have to remember that in algebra, whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other side. Calculators can definitely solve equations with one variable, but sometimes it's faster to do the simple ones by hand. And if you can't do basic equations by hand, check out the blog for more practice. For algebraic problems where x has a particular value, we want to work backwards. This means plugging in the answer choices into the equation to see which one works. And remember, the answer choices are always from least to greatest, with answer choice C or answer choice H being the middle value. And if you plug in C and the answer is too big, go to the next smaller choice, which would be to the left. Or if the answer is too small, go to the next larger choice, which will be to the right. Here's an example of here are some examples of problems where x has a particular value. If you look at 3x plus 7 equals 28, you see in the answer choices, x has a value. It's the same way in this second problem, x has a particular value. Now sometimes they'll give you the reverse question where they tell you what the value of the variable is. For instance, what is the value of 3x squared plus 5x minus 7 when x equals -1? You're in luck, you just need to plug in that -1 in order to get your answer choice. Now the second type of problem in the algebra section is called the cosmic equation. How do you spot a cosmic problem? Basically, it's any problem with variables in the answer choices. In most cosmic problems, you can pick any number you like, but some numbers work better than others. Generally, you want to stick to small numbers because they're easy to work with. As an example, if a problem is about days and weeks, 7 might be a good number. If the problem is about percentages, 100 is always a good number to use. And try to avoid 0, 1 in numbers that are already in the problem because you might get more than one correct answer. Here's an example of a problem where x has no particular value. If you look in the answer choices, they have variables like that 4x minus 5 or 4x, so on and so forth. The test writers want you to figure out an expression for x that will answer this question no matter what x is. In other words, this is a cosmic problem that you must translate. And for a lot of the cosmic equations, you have to know what translation is or know how to translate mathematical operations. So in the problem, you have certain words that signify mathematical operations. For instance, when you see the words is, you know that means equal. If you see words such as product or times, that means to multiply. What a certain number is signifying a variable like x, y, or z. If you see percent, you know you'll use 100 in some way, or you could use over 100. For example, 30%, that's 30 over 100, or whatever number they say over 100. What percent? That's combining what a certain number is, and you want to use a variable over 100. So you'll get x over 100. If you have more than the sum of increased by is added to, that signifies addition or a plus sign, and less than means subtraction. And if you already know this, great. Here's an example. What is 5 more than the product of 4 and a certain number x? If you remember the order of operations, we know we have to multiply first. So product of 4 and a certain number x means 4x. And what is 5 more than 4x? It will be 5 plus 4x, which will be e, 4x plus 5. And it doesn't matter what order you multiply or divide it, it doesn't matter what order you multiply or add n, that's the associative law. The second way to solve a cosmic problem is to plug in. And the first step is you want to pick numbers from the variables in the problem and write them down. Then using your numbers, find an answer to the problem. Plug your numbers into the answer choices to see which choice equals the answer you found in step 2. For example, we're going to use the same problem from before, which is 5 plus 4x or 4x plus 5. We're going to use 3. So 4 times 3 is 12 plus 5 equals 17. So when you plug in the 3 in these answer choices, which one gives you 17? And of course, it will be E. And if it feels a little rushed, don't feel bad. There's more practice on the block. Now, sometimes cosmic problems don't have variables in the answer choices. The way you solve these types of cosmic problems is to first choose a number that satisfies the restrictions in a question, then proceed to follow the steps that we just highlighted. Now, basic factoring, of course, they're going to test you on that. Do you know how to do the FOIL method? Practice on the block. And that's just an example of a FOIL-like problem. X squared plus 7x plus 12 divided by x plus 4 equals 5. And of course, this is a problem where x has a particular value because the answer choices have values for x. The same problem could be used as a cosmic problem, and they have the same question, they just rewrite it. And remember, when you factor, oftentimes they give you clues in their answer choices to what the other factor is going to be. Can you find a factor already in this problem? For all x that does not equal -3, which of the following is equivalent to the expression x squared minus x minus 12 divided by x plus 3? So it's just something to think about. Use what they give you. Advanced factoring. Do you know how to do quadratic equations? Can you do them on your calculator? For factoring, if you know how to use the factor function, or if you know how to factor on your calculator, you'll save some time. Now here are the ACT's 3 favorite quadratics. You have x squared minus y squared, and that just means x plus y times x minus y. And the second one is x squared plus 2xy plus y squared equals x plus y squared. And the third one is x squared minus 2xy plus y squared, and that equals x minus y squared. So to crack these quadratic problems, just memorize their 3 favorite forms, put them immediately into the other form when you see them, then solve. Other equations they'll test you on will be simultaneous equations. Remember the elimination method. If this doesn't sound familiar, make sure you go to the blog and practice. We also have inequalities that they'll test you on. You solve these in the same way, except if you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, you have to reverse the inequality sign. And remember, practice is available on the blog. And the last type of problem will be logarithms. And these problems definitely look more difficult than they are. And if you look at this example up under that, you can tell it looks kind of funny, but really, if you know what you're doing and you practice on them, you'll be just fine. So you only have about 1 of these on the test. And remember that you have more practice available on the blog. So as you go through your worksheet, just put a check mark by things that you know or things that you don't know. And that way we can focus more on what you need to study. So guys, I'll see you in the next section.